Hey, Charlie,
Hi, Martin.
how's things?
Oh, they're here.
That looks like home, am I right?
It is home. Yeah.
Yeah, few guitars behind you.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
when I was looking around this interview, I mean, you've been together now for 25 years as a band, which I found a bit shocking. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, how do you see yourselves? Because I mean, the music industry's obviously moved on since you formed the band. It's more siloed, and you've managed to be friends as well. So I mean, how's all that worked, and what's the secret of Blackberry Smoke, really?
Um, I wish I could, I wish I knew the secret. I could bottle it and sell it to young bands. I don't know. We love to do the work, you know, playing the music, taking it to people, making the records. It's just a beautiful thing.
But how do you see your music? I mean, the music industry, as I said, is very siloed these days. But I mean,
Yeah.
how do you view your own music, or do you just do what you think's Blackberry Smoke, or I mean,
Yeah. I think we do what feels comfortable. And from time to time, we'll sort of push out on our comfort bubble a little. And I think the music grows a little. Maybe not much, we're not making a hip hop record or a reggae record or a punk record, but you know, taking little chances but I don't even look at it like that. I don't look at that as being something that's necessary. I just think quality is what's necessary in our way of thinking. Like we don't want to release a record that we don't think is good. Or just because we think it might sell or something like that. Um, at the end of the day, I look at the records and can say, well, I like this, pretty proud of it. I'll listen to it, you know, in my car.
and you've also got quite a number of musicians who are fans of the band. I mean, does that mean anything to you?
Yeah, I love that. That's anytime that there's a musician that I respect that likes what we do, it feels good, you know. Um, it's I'm a fan of music. Um, always have been, always will be, first and foremost. Probably more of a fan than I am an artist. Um, so that's great.
I mean, you've got a new album out, Be Right Here. You've worked with producer Dave Cobb. I mean, what's that relationship like?
I love Dave. We're coming from the same place geographically and musically. Um, he's very passionate about music and about making the records. And it's funny because, he's an analog guy, which I love as well. And even more so than I am. He's all about the moment and the passion and the vibe more so than perfection. Uh, to which point I would have said at any given time in the studio, I might have said, "Oh, I didn't play that so well. Let me play that again." And he's like, "No, no, 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 don't touch that. That had the feel." And I might say, "Well, there's a huge mistake in the middle of it." And he's like, "Who gives a shit?" It feels good.
I mean, I read somewhere he told you to bring little amps or something. What was all that about? What was he getting at there?
Well, he wanted to put us, the drums, all the amps, all the gear in the same room. No separation, no drums in a booth, no vocals in a booth. Everybody in the same room, sort of like we're rehearsing. And little amps made it easier to be turned up loud. I think he had made a record the same way with Slash and Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators with full on like stacks. And he was like, "Oh, it was ungodly loud." So this is he's like, bring little Princetons and champs and things, and let's put them around the drums, and just make a record like that. And I can hear it. I can hear the looseness that brought to the proceedings. When I put the needle on the record, I'm like, I hear it. I hear the little amp buzzing. I hear the spot I was sitting in. I'm right back there.
I mean, he took you into Studio A in Nashville as well, didn't he? As well as his own studio. I mean, what was that like? Did that feel
Well,
spooky, or what was it?
well,
Was it like
it's
being in there?
great. Yeah, it's a little of a little of all of the above. It's spooky and beautiful and haunting and special and precious. And I would go up to the bathroom, go up to Chet Atkins' bathroom, right by his office, and uh, yeah, it's. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a building, but there's been so much magic created within those walls that it's not lost on me for sure.
I mean, you mentioned geography. I mean, you are a southern band. I mean, what does that mean, though?
Just
How,
means I have a Southern accent when I sing.
I mean, in terms of your musical sort of outlook, I mean, what do you think is the essence of southern music?
I think all American music starts in the South. I think I mean, they don't, nobody needs to take my word for it. It's like the settlers that came to this country, white and black, they wound up in the South. I think because of the weather. Initially, it's like, let's get out of this snow. Let's go down to where we don't have to freeze to death. And then all the art that they brought with them, storytelling and art and dance and music, it all coalesced, and here we are musically, and so it's funny. It's like people say, yeah, like well, the blues, was basically born in Mississippi, and then it's country music is born in Tennessee. And it's like rock and roll music born in Tennessee. Like it's jazz born in Louisiana. It's like that's all down here. So you can just go ahead and say all music except for classical music comes from the southeastern United States. Oh, I
I
love it
mean,
though. It's a the heritage is so rich and important, and I just hope it's never underappreciated or forgotten by each generation that comes along. It's like we all have so much to be thankful for musically, which is a small part of the equation, I guess, when you're talking about life. But maybe it's not. Maybe you know, music is a healer and it's a uniter, and it's so important.
a bit like food, isn't it? You can't
It
really
is.
do without it, and it does you good.
That's right. It's
Mm.
medicine.
Coming back to your own music, I mean, how does the songwriting work for the band, and who makes the selections in terms of what songs go on which album and everything? So how does the band sort of work together to come up with?
Well, I've been the chief songwriter since the beginning, and I think that just kind of works itself out. When you form a band, you pretty quickly, if you're writing songs, you find out who writes and who doesn't. It's not everybody does. Not everybody's a songwriter. It's just the way that it goes. Some people just play their instrument. Some people are really good at other things, whether it be business or art or, you know, design or whatever the case may be. Like our drummer, Britt Turner, he's a whiz bang at the way the art for the band, the cover art and t-shirt designs, and it's kind of fallen on me to write the songs, and he makes them look good. you know They're like, it's I say that jokingly, but it's true. It's like that's his passion, is the visual part of the equation. But I just started when we first started the band. I just started writing songs. I didn't know what I was doing, but they just kept coming out, and so that's kind of the way that it. And then over the years, it was about our second album, I guess. We were working with a producer that said, "You ever co-write with people?" And I said, "Not really. Not been really given the opportunity. Here and there with friends." So he's like, "I want you to meet a guy that I think you guys are very similar." And it was a guy named Travis Meadows, who now we've written tons of songs together. And he's a go-to collaborator. Every time we make a record, I'm like, I have a couple of ideas, Travis, and we get together and write them. Same with Keith Nelson, and an old friend of mine. And So that'll happen. Also in the band, Brandon Still, he and I have collaborated on a handful of songs now too. He's getting involved and he's very interested in writing now.
So what are the themes on the new record? What was in your head when you were writing the songs to?
I don't know. My wife says she hears the word luck a few times in the record, so it must have been I must have had good or bad luck on my mind. She also said there's some lovely melancholy there. I don't even know what that means. How can there be such a thing? But no, I guess it's always just life, I think. I know that sounds corny, but I don't really write about anything else. Um, some of it's happy, some of it's sad, but it's all true.
So I mean, in terms of your songwriting, I mean, what sort of songwriter are you? Do you write every day? Are you structured, or is it just as it comes? You know, how do you sort of manage it yourself?
I'm not an everyday writer. And I generally catch them as they come. Um, I don't know. I've just never been comfortable with the the sitting down and writing as an exercise kind of thing. That feels forced to me. But I'm a guitar player first and foremost, so a lot of songs come from riffs and from melodic ideas that'll happen while playing the guitar. So if I wasn't a guitar player, maybe it would be a different thing. But I constantly play the guitar, so it seems like there's constantly something coming, which is good. That helps at album time.
And how much effort do you have to put into your guitar? So you've talked about the riffs, you've got your solos. I mean, how much effort is that in terms of planning and thought, and how much is just sort of just flows out of you?
Yeah, no planning. It's not. I don't really practice per se. Is just enjoy playing the guitar. Um, they're everywhere. You can see. There's three
Yep.
more over here. It's my passion. And it turned into songwriting, after when I became an adult. I don't know if you can write songs when when you're a kid, you haven't lived enough to know what you're talking about. But I started writing in earnest in my 20s, my late 20s actually. But that all came from guitar. It's like um it's a tool.
I mean, you've said you're essentially a music fan,
Yeah.
yeah, first rather than a musician. I mean, who would you say are your sort of personal ground zero influences? Who do you keep going back to?
Um, well, Hank Williams, Bill Monroe, Jagger and Richards, Lennon and McCartney, Billy Joe Shaver, Townes Van Zandt, Steve Earle, Lowell George. It's just such an endless list.
I mean, that's fair summation, isn't it, of music of the last
Yeah,
80 years, 90 years nearly in some of that. Yeah. I mean,
I think so. Shane MacGowan.
and we lost him recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that,
I I I recently well, in the past decade, I think we all kind of want to know where we come from, our families and I traced my father's family back to Ireland pretty much exclusively. And I wondered, I thought, why do I always kind of vibrate when we go there? And I'm like, oh, that's my blood tingling.
I mean, you mentioned bluegrass there. I mean, you're on Michael Cleveland's album, and we had a chat with him a few months ago, and
Oh,
he was talking about it. I mean, what was that like? And yeah,
I'm honored. I saw him. I had never met him previous to the recording, but I'd seen him. The first time I saw him was in the 90s, back in the 1900s. I saw him playing with Rhonda Vincent at a festival. And I thought, well, I heard him first and I went directly to that stage and was like, that's the best fiddle I've ever heard, ever. And I've been going to festivals since I was a kid. My dad's a big bluegrass guy, and I saw Michael, and I was just stunned at how musical. It was the most musical fiddle I'd ever heard. It was just, it couldn't be separated from what the music, the band that was creating it wasn't. It was entrenched so deep in that song they were playing. I thought, oh, this is just, I don't know if you know what I mean, but it's like it's he's performing surgery on that thing, like this is essential right now.
Yeah.
He's just one with that instrument like nobody I've ever seen. So fast forward to, I got the email that they would like to record that song first, and I said I'd be honored to hear, Michael and Flamekeeper record One Horse Town. And then he said, would you like to sing on it? And I said, yes, I would.
I mean, guest artists, you've got the Black Betties on the new album. I mean, who brought them in? Whose idea was that?
Well, the first time they recorded with us was on Find a Light, so that's 3 records ago. And we were recording a song that Robert Randolph and I wrote that had this great big gospel rave up in the middle of it. And I thought, well, we need we need more singers than me and Paul. And so the engineer on that record's name is Tom Tapley. And I said, we need some gospel singers. We're going to do this thing in the middle that just goes kind of crazy, kind of tent revival, And he said, well, I just worked with 2 twin sisters that do it better than anybody I've ever heard. And I said, oh, yeah, really? And he said, yeah, I'll bring them in here. So he called them and they came in. And first of all, I was struck by how beautiful they are. And I didn't have to say anything about what to sing. They started to sing and I was blown backwards. I was like, you got it. That's it. And so we got in there together on that song and we sang it, the 3 of us. And then I said, while you're here, there's a couple of other songs on this record. And so anyway, it just snowballed. And now they've toured with us. They've lived with us in a tour bus, that we're like family. I wish that they could be with us all the time, but they have their own band and, they do what they do. But anytime, this is the 3rd record now that they've been on almost every song.
It obviously
Beautiful.
works.
It works.
I mean, I think you mentioned you're an analog sort of guy. I mean, how easy is that in this sort of digital age? I mean,
Well, I just push back at some things, As a guitar player, there's all this technology now to make you quieter and lighter, I'm like, I still have a good back. I can carry a Marshall. I got friends that are like, look at this tiny little box I have. It sounds just like I'm like, I don't want that. But I mean, there are some things, obviously, when you work in the studio, there's all this incredible technology, plugins that sound like old things. And sometimes it's like, okay, we'll just use that. But at the end of the day, I just like the things that it's Guy Clark has that song, Stuff That Works. Like, this works. Yeah. I don't need to change it. Stuff that holds up.
I mean, you were in the UK a couple of weeks ago, I think. The Americana UK Awards. I mean, what did you make of that? What was that like?
It was great. I was honored. I was asked to present the award for UK Artist of the Year, which Michelle Stoddart won, who's fantastic. And I saw some old friends and new friends there. Jason Isbell is an old friend, and we were representing the state of Alabama. Really, we were both born there. And funny, we're fans of rival football teams, college American football. He likes the University of Alabama. I like the University of Auburn, which are sworn enemies. But we can get past it. But then the Cardinal Black, who I met last year on Joe Bonamassa's cruise, Chris Buck is their guitar player. He's ridiculous how good he is. they were there, got to see them, and Drew Holcomb, Whispering Bob Harris.
Yep.
He's there. And it was just great. David Macias, who we work with 30 Tigers, he's a big part of that. He's a big part of why everybody's there, you know, his vision. And I don't know if you know, he's an old Atlanta friend. He worked with the Black Crows back in their infancy. And yeah, what a great fellow. Honored to be there, I was.
Any plans for the band to come back to the UK?
Oh yeah, we'll be back in September playing Hammersmith.
So is that just one gig, or are you gonna squeeze a few in?
We'll have a few. Yeah, that's the London show, but I think we'll do what we usually do, is just like Manchester, Bristol. I can tell you, let's see. I can tell you the exact routing. Hopefully the weather will be nice. It was when we were there last week or so, it was more sunshine than I've ever seen in the UK in my life.
Yeah, our seasons have flipped, I think. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we'll be doing Glasgow, Edinburgh, Manchester, Birmingham, London.
Any plans for Ireland, or is it just?
Oh, I hope so. I don't see it on there now. Let's hope something gets added.
One thing we like to do with people we chat with is ask them, what are you listening to now? So 3 artists, albums, or tracks, can be anything, old, new, any genre, just what you're enjoying that you think other people might enjoy as well.
Well, I love Coulter Wall's newest record. He's one of my favorites. Charlie Crockett.
Yep.
Love his new record. Love Isbell's new record, Weather Vanes. Right this second, I'm listening to Larry Coryell's first record, famous jazz fusion guitar player, because I'm a guitar nerd, and that's a great one.
Yeah.
Also, the Rolling Stones, Hackney Diamonds. I love that record. I think it's fantastic.
And they're now claiming they're a London band.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah, we were just in Hackney. I had never heard of such. And I'm like, oh, here it is. This is what they're talking about.
Yeah, this is what they're talking about, even though, after all these years.
Uh-huh.
Is there anything you want to say to Americana UK readers?
I want to say thank you. And we can't wait to see you in September.
I'm about done. Is there anything you wanted to talk about we never got around to?
That's it. I think we covered it all.
That's it. So great album. Good luck.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll see you in September.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Take care.